What a wonderful explanation or response to my question. It's what we are learning here is another aspect of supply chain knowledge, which most SMEs probably are struggling to understand. And this is the aspect of partnership. How do you partner with other organizations who can do whatever you are not able to do better? And this is through outsourcing some of the functions which are not your first category in your organization. This is something which SMEs, they might be struggling a lot to understand. They feel that, you being a startup, then you need to be managing everything, each and every function in an organization. So for it to be easier for our SMEs, it is also very important to understand what partnership can bring to these organizations and how you can optimize pulling resources together. Going to John Karani, who is, as I've said earlier, he sits in a very key body dealing with professionals in supply chain. What is the role of capacity building and why capacity building and training opportunities SMEs should take advantage of to improve their supply chain knowledge? Because what I've come to understand from a capacity building perspective, knowledge is key. Knowledge is power. You cannot be able to build an organization without being knowledgeable. And being knowledgeable also, it depends where are you getting that knowledge. So from your experience sitting in such an incredible body in Kenya, what is your advice to SMEs on how to build capacity to themselves and also to those people working in those organizations?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that question. Let me go back to one point that I think Michael talked about, the issue around speed of delivery. I worked in a company called Coca-Cola for about 20 years, and that's how I crisscrossed Africa. And we grew a lot of small businesses into big business. What did we do? It's around embedding quality management systems. If you can capacitate people to build quality items, and then the other issue is about speed of delivery, and I think that's what my colleagues talk about, responsiveness, agility. And I think there's something about a small business, if they do it well, they can be agile, they can be responsive, they can actually meet customer needs more speedily. The TAT, the turnaround time, is that faster. So I go back now to saying, what are those things that we can train our small scale business around? It's the basics of stock inventory management, for instance. And I think it's what you do very well, Paul, in VCARE. The basics of just customer service, how can we make sure we embed these things? And small things, they don't need big things. We don't need to train them in about massive things, about total supply chain issue. But how can we just, they don't need like an expensive ERP system, for instance. How can we just train them in basic Excel, what's stock in and management of stock and making sure they never run out at any given time. So what are we doing here in Kenya? We are trying to curate programs that actually can speak to these emerging needs of these small-scale business people that can help them. And that's why I said we're partnering with the Association of Manufacturers here in Kenya. We are partnering with the private sector people in Kenya. And we are partnering with the other group called the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce to curate programs that can actually speak and make impact for these providers or these small-scale firms. They actually can outgrow. I want to call that word. They need to outgrow their smallness. And the only way to do that, they must get the foundation right. The only way to get the foundation right is get the basics right. And that's what we do. We don't need to train them on complex procurement methods. We just train them on basic. And that's what we are doing around inventory management, around quality management, around customer service. Few things, and that will make them go far. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, do you think from what you've said, I agree with you, what you have said, but do you think it is important for SMEs to embrace training in the different areas of supply chain?
Very, very important question, Paul. And I think Many of them do not see the value of capacity building. They think they know it. And you have seen it, Paul. Before 5 years are over, they fail. But those ones who embrace capacity building, learn something, and increasingly we are getting them now happening. We actually have the suppliers professional body. I also happen to be the chair of another body, which is a retail body, retailer, one of the retailers here in Kenya. We are now forming this supplier cohorts. Can we help them to create supplier sensitization programs on what training they need? It is so critical, but they have not yet reached a stage where they embrace it because they find it's costly and they don't need it. And so we have to make it affordable. We have to make it relevant for them and make it attractive so that they come and actually embrace those trainings. Simplified training. They cannot go for your complex trainings about e-procurement, all those things that we are doing. How can we make them simple and reach them at where they are, the stage where they are in, so that at the end of the day, they can actually see the value in it, but more importantly, see the importance of capacity building. It's going to be a journey, and I don't think everybody sees the value of that. It's going to take a long time for many of these professional body SMEs to embed capacity building and training. They feel they can do anything just in what we call in Kenya, Juakali way, very haphazard way. I don't know how to call that, Paul, but very, not in a very professional way. And that is a challenge that we have to navigate and embed and make sure they actually find the value in capacity. They don't think it's important, but we have to create that need. That's why we're the people who create the demand. The demand is in how do we pitch our product to them? Is it something that speaks to their needs? And I think it's up to us also, not just to them. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, John. Just to go back to the comments from our listeners and our viewers. Yeah, there's some of the key areas which they have spoken about. One thing which is coming clear is, I know there are some systems which are very expensive, like SAP and the rest, which our SMEs cannot be able to handle. Michael has said it much more clearly that our SMEs can use simplified platforms like Excel to be able to manage their inventory. And this is all about visibility, because we are not looking for so much as an organization is starting, but be able to have visibility in what. In terms of assets, in what they have within the organization. And visibility here is their inventory, either for their raw materials and even their finished goods in what they are selling, because that's where money sits. That's where the foundation of any organization is. Now, coming to you, Rauf, you have spoken so eloquently about the relationships, how relationships are between suppliers and our SMEs. Is there anything else apart from just the normal relationship of being able to supply on time, or being able to get the best, the right quality of goods? Is there anything different which you can be able to talk to our SMEs? Most importantly, being an SME, sometimes it is very difficult to deal with the developed suppliers. Sometimes you'll be forced to deal with also suppliers who are SMEs. And I know finances can also be an issue here when it comes to managing the buying and selling between SMEs and the suppliers. Is there any other advice or any other input you can be able to give to our viewers in relation to finances?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about finance, the assumption generally is when we talk about SMEs, the one thing that they do not have is finance, right? It's one thing where they struggle about themselves. So it's therefore very important that what they don't have in finance, they're able to make it for it in other ways from their suppliers. So if an SMEs also have other SMEs as their suppliers, of course, there is need then in the airports to create some sustainability, some assurance, right? And one of the ways to do this is giving them visibility that we are talking about in terms of what to expect. So if an SME know that this is the order I'm going to get this month, next month, all of that, they are then able to, plan, source for credit, or maybe also get some credit from their own supplier and things like that. So they have visibility, they can plan instead of, I get this order today, I don't know when the next one is coming. So if they can plan for ahead, they can plan or buy in bulk, be able to deliver to you. I mean, somebody mentioned bulk earlier. So something like that is what you can do. The other thing you can do is actually partnering with, depending on the nature of the business we have, it's actually partnering with the suppliers in sourcing. Sometimes, I mean, you give a PD, you give them bank guarantee so that the banks know that, okay, definitely they are going to get this bill from you, and therefore they will be able to grant them credit. But you don't have these issues with well-established suppliers, and this is where it matters when you are selecting your suppliers. You have to know exactly what you want, because if you look at the balance of power between you buying from SME, you say you have a power, you can therefore push for lower prices. You can push for the kind of delivery that you want, right? But it comes at a cost because it's not very reliable. If you are dealing with more established suppliers, you probably have to pay in advance before it's delivered. So in this case, yourself need to source fund for yourself. You probably need to get credit to be able to buy your raw materials. So what you can do with an established suppliers, you may not be able to do with SMEs. But with SMEs, I mean, especially if you see potential for growth in particular one, what you can do, develop partnership with them. They have your forecast, you work together in getting funded for them, because now they are not just your supplier, they are actually an extension of your supply chain. When they grow, you grow. When as your business grows, they also grow. As your business matures, theirs matures, and therefore together you become a very strong business working together. And that is one of the areas I think yes, business SMEs in particular can focus on. Right? It's about giving visibility to your suppliers. It's about deliberately deciding which way you want to go. Because what you can do with the smaller suppliers, you cannot do bigger supplier, and each of them has got their advantage. Thank you.